Okay. So you want to know where I was born? I was born in Dodge City, Kansas, at St. Anthony Hospital, which is a grocery store now. I was born in the meat market, and I don't have a maiden name, but my mother's maiden name was Keith, and my her folks lived at Fort Dodge. I spent most of my childhood at Fort Dodge in the 50s. And I don't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I guess I always wanted to be a farmer, but that didn't work out either. I didn't have what you call a perfect childhood. My mother created a lot of problems for me. And I kind of hung close to my dad and my one uncle. They were kind of like my security blankets, I guess you could say. But I went to school at Sacred Heart in Dodge, and then I went to public school to junior high, and from there I went to St. Mary's because I started out at Sacred Heart, and I wanted to graduate with the kids that I started school with. So I graduated from St. Mary's, and that school is still standing. I came to Spearville because I married a Spearville girl, and my thought when I was in high school, I dated a girl, and we always, I don't know what our connection was with Mineola, but every time we went on a date, we always went to Mineola. But I like I say, I don't know what the connection was, but I always thought I'd end up in Mineola, but I didn't. But I married a Spearville girl, and I moved to Spearville, and I'm still here after 50 years. And well, I've been a mechanic all my life. I mechanic with my dad when I was a kid, and then when I was in the military, I was an aircraft mechanic. And after I got out of the military, I got on as a tractor mechanic and stayed there for a lot of years, and finally got out of that. And then I decided I need something easier to do to retire, so I went to work for the school. So I graduated, retired from the school, and the superintendent still sees me and wants to know if I'm going to come back and drive the bus. I keep telling him no, but Ethel was a bus driver too, and so he tells me that he sure misses me and Ethel driving the bus. And I don't know what kind of interesting stories I should tell. I don't know if anything. I guess everything I did was probably interesting. But being in the military, being an aircraft mechanic, and if we had airplanes crash, we had to go out and clean up the crashes and pick up the dead bodies and the burning bodies in the aircraft, and that was, I don't know if it gave me PTSD, but I feel like it did. But I couldn't find anybody to do anything with it, so I struggled through it all my life, and finally, after I'm in my middle 70s, I finally get a doctor convinced that maybe I did have PTSD. So I went to Wichita and talked to a guy down there, and he said that anybody that comes out of the military has usually got PTSD. And then through the VA, I did talk to a psychiatrist one day from Hayes, and she listened to some of my stories, and she said, yeah, I can tell you got PTSD. And really haven't traveled anywhere. Well, I guess I did travel somewhere. I spent my military time in Texas, running up and down highways in Texas. And after I was a mechanic in a few years, Ford Motor Company sent me to Detroit for a week to work on the, what was the name of that tractor? The big 4-wheel drive. I can't think of it now. But anyway, I spent a week up in Detroit going to school on it, and I met several guys from Regina, Canada, that were mechanics, and we had similar stories to talk back and forth about. And I've never really met anybody famous except me, and I still haven't found my 15 minutes of fame. And I don't know, I guess being I'm retired and about the end of my last chapter of life, about all I got to look forward to is going visiting my grandkids and great grandkids. And I've got a woman friend in St. Joe, Missouri. I talk to her on the phone pretty often, and she's always begging me to come see her. But since Ethel passed away, I've been up there one time and seen her. And I plan on going back, but I don't know when. I keep talking to my girls about it, so we're trying to get something worked in. But other than that, I guess my bucket's always had a hole in the bottom. So I don't know really what's going to go on the rest of my life. I just got friends I visit with, and a lot of relatives I don't have anything to do with. I guess probably the biggest part is that they don't want to come see me, so I don't go see them. But I got some I talk to on the phone pretty often, and we get along all right. It's just different being a kid with them around and then growing up and having them around. It's a different life. But other than that, here I am.
Thank you, Henry.